Hang on a minute. Hang on a minute here. Hang on a minute here.
You got it, Rob.
Hang on a minute. This is a takeover. I feel there's an unjustly takeover happening. I feel, look, talks have stalled on the takeover between Steve taking over this channel. They have stalled a little bit because I value the channel at 8.5 billion. And Steve won't pay more than 6 billion. So we're a little bit stuck on, we'll have to compromise. Compromise.
Well, Dermot, listen, here's the thing. This is a valuable Premier League commodity with all the revenue drivers that go along with it. And 8 billion is not a reasonable asking price. You know what I mean? It's not a reasonable asking price considering that you're more than going to quadruple it.
I'm sorry, I'm taking the leaf out of Daniel Levy's book. I'm sorry, I'm learning from the master. But Steve did not know I was going to start with that, but I thought I'd just come in with it because it would just starts with the show. But hi and good evening, and welcome to THFC. Do we die? Your home at Tottenham past, present, and the exciting future under the massive cockerel that guides mighty Spurs to the promised land. And of course, tonight is Talk Saw. We got you the very latest on the takeovers, and we're going to go through it, going to dissect it, and actually get you guys involved as well and see what you guys think. We've got a little bit of talk on transfer rumors as well, and also probably get us goal predictions before tomorrow's game. Just to answer Adrian, who sang the song, it was actually Colin who actually did that intro for us and sang the song himself. So
do you know what
that's who did it? Very, very talented person, actually, our Colin.
Yeah,
he really
absolutely.
is.
And do you know what the best part about that intro is? It's the Mikey Van. It's the Mikey Van de Ven goals.
I was there. I was at that game.
Every time I see the intro and I see the banger from Mikey Moore,
yeah,
it just fires me up, man. As you know, I got a love affair with Dutch center back, so it is like it's right up my alley.
It's slightly worrying that this love affair we may have to stick him into some sort of love affair rehab. We're not sure over the summer. It's still in discussions, but we're not sure yet.
I got hard eyes for Dutch. It's all hard eyes for Dutch center backs.
Yeah. But big up. Firstly, I just want to say big us up. Big me. I'm not normally big. I don't normally like bigging us up and giving ourselves credit. But yesterday we broke the news that Paratici was coming back to Tottenham Hotspur. And what broke today? Paratici's coming back to Tottenham Hotspur. So this is the channel of breaking news of anything to do with Tottenham Hotspur. And Steve, look, I don't like doing it. I don't like bragging, but I think damn well, why shouldn't we? We were the first channel across YouTube to say about Paratici coming back, and we broke it yesterday.
Absolutely. Let's go ahead and pat ourselves on the back, and everybody that's in the chat, give us a round of applause, because it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen without Dermot. And it's like, here's the thing, Dermot. There are a time and place to give yourself all the credit, and I think now is the perfect time to give yourself all the credit on this one.
I know it's a team effort. It's a team effort. How we started this morning was I got a text from you, didn't I? It was about 12 o'clock. And I then passed it on to our source. He come back. He said, run it. You were telling me to run it, but I didn't want to run it because I was bitten on Thursday with the Bergville news. And I thought, I just want to double check. You and me both sent it to our source. You know our source very well. Checked it. He said, run with it. And we ran with it. 24 hours later, what comes out next? From last word on Spurs, nowhere about Paratici's coming back. And when I was told this has been I can get a bit more in that. They agreed this about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
That there was a gentleman agreement for him to come back to Tottenham.
Absolutely. And why wouldn't he, right? He started a goal to get this team into the, to consistently be a top 4 Premier League club with championship aspirations of winning trophies domestically in Europe. And he wants to come back and finish what he started. There's nothing wrong with it, because as you know, he could have went to big up Adrian. He easily could have went to AC Milan. but he rejected AC Milan. He rejected the Forza Italia to come back to Tottenham Hotspur.
Yeah.
Forza Azzurri came back because this is the ultimate challenge, as you know, with our beloved Tottenham Hotspur and the budget restrictions that we have. This is the ultimate. This is the ultimate challenge. Can he get this team to win the Premier League, if not domestic trophies, winning doubles, winning trebles, winning the Champions League? That is the ultimate challenge in global football. Yeah.
And also, a new manager. He didn't want Postecoglou, so a new manager will be heading into that dugout. Whoever that is, we've heard rumors of Inzaghi. We've heard rumors of Jurgen Klopp. We've heard rumors of Mourinho. So we will touch on that. Might touch on the managers tomorrow, actually, in the build-up show tomorrow. But I want to say big up to Adrian Spurs diehards. Do get over there. Great channel. Love watching it. And I love listening to Adrian and Drew. And that says big
Adrian's
up, Steve.
Great. Adrian's such a great guy, man. I like Adrian. I love the throwback. I love the throwback fans, and especially to a different time in Tottenham Hotspur football where it was all about trophies and it was all about winning. And he was there, and he's got fantastic stories. Go do yourself a favor and like and subscribe Spurs Diehard TTID. Great stories from Adrian. He's actually a wonderful storyteller.
He does say big up Steve, and I think he also meant to say big up Dermot as well. So big up Steve.
Yeah.
We've got him. Also, we've got in tonight. There was a lot of talk. We've got big up to Boris as well. He says, let's see Arsenal go home crying from Paris this week. Absolutely. Big up to Michael McDonald. Big up Mick. Hope you're doing well. So it's the evening, Mr. McDonald. Hope you're doing well.
Hope
big up to Christopher Inshard. All off then. Not necessarily, but we give you the latest, man. Big up to Dan Davenport. Hey, Dermot. Hey, Steve. Big up, Danny boy.
What's up, Danny?
We got Spurs. Yes, mate. You are in the Spurs talk show.
Yeah.
You get into these WhatsApp groups. I don't even get invited.
Well, he was mentioning Sean Butler, who I've never had the pleasure of meeting or talking to. And apparently Drew hooked up with them and today and for a nice conversation, and I was not aware of it, but apparently I'm in the Spurs Talk WhatsApp group, so I guess I'm going to check it out because I'm all about it.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
By the way, big up to Adrian for making me a part of that WhatsApp group. By the way,
I don't even get invited to them things. So we know somebody who's well liked and who isn't. I'm joking, by the way. Big up to Jazz Fusion as well. Big up, Jazz. Hope you're doing well. Big up to Wembley One. It says, evening, guys. I like to believe there is something concrete to these takeover talks, but there has been so many false dawns, but I dare not get my hopes up. Well, we'll give you the latest true. Ange Ball on Bergville entry talk. It's the last thing Lucas needed. Levels of decency and respect do not exist anymore. Big up to Mr. Very Godfather himself, Mr. Philip Brady. Ange very angry that Bergville injury leak came from inside the club. Well, we wonder who the mole is.
We know who the mole is.
Yeah, we do.
We know who it is.
Yeah, it's Boris.
It's Ben Davis.
It's Ben Davis. Levy never wanted him gone. That was the Italian law and you, I think. Big up to Jazz Fusion Klopp. Big up to Colin as well. Big up Colin. Big up gents. Adrian's talking to you.
The Doncaster Rovers. Big up Doncaster.
Steve is talking to you. Adrian, nobody's talking to me actually, but big up anyway. Klopp would be unbelievable. No. What a fool believes from what a fool believes from Michael McDonald, LOL.
Yeah.
Well done. Yeah. We're not doing that again, Dan. No, I'm not going through that again, mate. I'm too tired to go through that again. Oh damn, you know too much. Give us. I've got to start making these leaks. So I know, Boris, you need to change your name or do something different, man. And then we've got Jazz. Guy is on the beach on crotches leak. There we go. Jazz is letting it in.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Now, transfer talk. Now, look, we do know talks. Look, you've been asking me for the last sort of 3 months what's happening with the transfer, and I haven't been able to take over, and I haven't been able to say a lot because of NDAs. Well, I got today with my source, and we had a meeting, and we went through it, and you were involved in it as well, Steve. So you were there as well. You can vouch for me. And we sort of came together with a sort of little package that we could give to you guys to give you a little bit of information that won't get us into trouble. and won't get our source into trouble. So we're going to go through the very latest. We're going to dissect it. We're going to try to work it out. We'll get you guys involved in it as well. We're only on for about an hour because Steve's got a show at 12:30 for MLS soccer. So do get over and watch that as well. Absolutely best MLS watch long on YouTube. It really is. It's brilliant. So do get there. Right. This is it. So we're going to go through it. We've got the club's chairman's hang on, that's wrong. Anyway, I'll go with it. I don't know how I've done this, put this together, but anyway. The problem is the club's chairman's high valuation said to be a factor causing talks to stall. So too is Levy's apparent intention to stay as a substantial investor or maintain control of the football operators. However, the latter reportedly is not fundamental to any talks. So what we can say that Levy's asking for, let me get it there. Tottenham claims that Daniel claims Spurs Tottenham valuation is 3.75 billion. That is 0.85 billion higher than around the 2.9 billion, which is about 3.5 billion in euro. Value from data firm Football Benchmark is almost 23% increase on their estimate. Look, so the first question to you, Steve, is this, right?
Yeah.
Why does Daniel Levy, especially we're 17th in the league, we're in the semi-final of the Europa League, but we haven't been successful over his tenure. One trophy in 17, 18 years. So is he valuing that on the stadium and what the stadium can bring in, what the stadium can produce as well with concerts, go-kart tracks and everything else? Is that why he's valuing the club at 2.9 billion pound, which is 3.5 billion euro? Is that why he's asking too much, or is he asking, or is there something else in play here that we don't know about?
Well, I think Tottenham's personal valuation is 3.75 billion, and yeah, the stadium plays a factor into it, but it's also the 22 years of ownership, sustainability, everything that he has done to turn Tottenham from a lower, lower table team into a high, to a top 5, top 6 Premier League squad. Funding the training grounds, funding the women's team, funding the new stadium. And finishing off the hotel that's going to be running in time for the 2028 Euros. This is this isn't necessarily a 5 or 6 year apex to get it this way. This is this is exactly why Enoch bought this club in 2001 was the ultimate goal for an eventual takeover, because at the end of it, they were going to cash out absolutely big. And the interesting thing is the Tottenham's valuation, Levy's valuation is 3.75, but also remember that's probably not the asking price. The asking price, they're going to try to get as much money. And I was thinking it was going to be right in the 5 billion mark. And when you look at that price tag, you can understand exactly why they want to cash out big. But here's the thing: is Levy's trying to double dip because he wants to hang around as the chairman under contract under a new ownership group and oversee the stewardship of this at least for the changeover. That being said, here's what I will say: if you're a prospective buyer to the Premier League and you see the revenue drivers that the Premier League is able to give any prospective buyers, you are seeing absolute dollar signs. But as a prospective buyer, when they do their independent valuations, and by the way, Tottenham does a valuation, and then anybody that's buying is going to bring in their own valuators to assess the situation. So they want to get more than one figure. They're not going to trust Daniel Levy in his valuation. They want to make sure that it's actually correct, and then they usually find some kind of middle ground, some kind of sweet spot. The reality is, think about Tottenham Hotspur right now. Okay, they actually have a lot of stadium debt. I think it's $835 million. Yeah. And half of that was financed by Tottenham Hotspur themselves. Enoch, I think put in 45% of that stadium. It was financed the rest of it, but that's still obviously that's still a massive amount of debt. It's nearly $1 billion. And then you look at the transfer debt that we happen to have, which is close to $300 million. And so when you're a prospective buyer, and especially if it's Qatar, Saudi, whatever the case may be, and you're coming in, you want to get that dollar figure to a reasonable price because you're coming in paying off the debt as well too.
Yeah.
You're not going to buy this team and then continue to service the existing debt. You're going to wipe the entire debt clean. And so that's going to take substantial investment. And, Daniel Levy, he wants to cash in for the 21, 22, 23 years that he's been in charge of it. And I don't blame him because, this was 2.5 decades of his life that he spent as a steward of the Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. And this is exactly why they got into this business for the eventual sell, because they knew the cash out was on the other end. So I understand it from that perspective, but from a takeover perspective, they're trying to get that down kind of in that 3.5 range because of the debt that they're going to have to clear as well too. And so you probably expect that all in an investment at takeover is probably going to cost them $5 billion right off the gate, which means they're going to need double that investment.
Yeah, if you look at the debt, the debt will be paid off. All debts will be debt free, and that I get that. But Daniel Levy has not been successful. The team have not won trophies on the pitch. If you look at the likes of Man United, you look at the likes of Liverpool, who have been successful. I think you can then demand $3.5 billion. I think you can. I don't think you have the success on the pitch to prove to you're buying a successful club. We have not been successful. Daniel Levy's done nothing but held us back. Yeah, we've got a brand new stadium. Whoopee. We've got a best training ground in the world. Whoopee. But we haven't won silverware. Now, we could end up winning silverware this year. We could end up winning the Europa League, our first European trophy since 1984. Yeah, I get that. But he's had time enough now to win us something. He's been through a succession of managers, more managers than any other owner of Tottenham Hotspur in their history. Even the Berman and the Richmond family, who owned Tottenham from the 40s up to 1982. Big up Johnny, by the way, or Eel Agency says. They didn't hire as many managers as Levy's done over the last 20 years. So, if you're looking at it that way, then look, I just think he's asking too much money. The club is not worth 3.75 billion. Nobody's going to pay that because we're not successful. If we were up qualifying for Champions League every year and qualifying for quite successfully, then you can say, okay, I'll give you that. But these owners are not going to care about Beyonce coming to the
I disagree.
The stadium.
I very much
I'm
disagree.
sorry, they're not. They're not. They're going to want. Hang on, can I just quickly? Yeah, very quickly finish my point. They are going to come in and want to win stuff. They're going to want to make this team successful. They're going to want to come in and compete and win Premier Leagues, win Champions League. They're not going to worry about. If they leave Daniel Levy to do all that sort of thing, fine. Leave him in doing the business side. Let him do all that shite. They wanted to come in, especially if it's Qataris. They're going to want it, and especially if it's different Qataris or Saudi Arabians, they're going to want to be the best out of the lot of them. And this is where I think you leave Daniel Levy in an advisory role. Let him do what he's good at, which is business. Let him do all the off-field stuff. Let him do all the go-karts, whatever. Whoever comes in, just concentrate on the football and put the football club first. Because at the moment, our football club is last on Levy's list. We need owners to come in that make us number one. And that's my opinion on it.
Well, I disagree with you on a couple points. And that number one, and I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but the fact that we've only won one trophy under Daniel Levy's stewardship means absolutely nothing to any type of takeover. And the fact that this team, when you look at the Deloitte Money League and you see that this is the 8th highest revenue generating club, and when you see the stadium and the multi-purpose use, where they have contracts with the NFL every single year, and it's worth just an absolute truckload of money. You see all the top pop stars coming there to have summer concert series. You see the boxing matches. All of that is money. You look at the Premier League TV deal, which is huge. And here's the thing: it's like when you look at that, these investors are looking at Tottenham Hotspur and seeing a money printing factory that they want to get into, and that is all off the work of Daniel Levy and his board have done over the last 22, 23 years, and that's the whole point, right? I hate to say this. The reality is that Daniel Levy ran this like a corporation, like a business, and this is standard business. The fact that they haven't won any trophies means absolutely nothing to anybody that's coming in. And I do agree with you that they're going to want to win. They're going to want to win 100%. They're coming in to win trophies. That's understandable. And if they do it on their watch, understand that's great. But from the from a pure business standpoint, from a pure economics, when you look at the profit of this club and you see the valuation continue to rise every single season, amidst a season like this where they finish 17th, and I guarantee you their profitability is still going to go up. Their valuation is still going to climb even in the midst of a bad season. It makes it attractive to investors to come in and try to buy this team, trophies or no trophies notwithstanding. I mean, I hate to say it and I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but the fact that, again, that we haven't won anything means absolutely nothing to anybody that's going to come and try to take it over.
It means
to you and me. To you and me, it does, because we're fans, right? Like, we want to see trophies and we want to see this team be an absolute dominating football club. But for somebody that's trying to buy into the Premier League, they're not looking at the fact that we haven't won anything. They're looking for a good deal on a team.
Yeah. No disrespect. You don't see the Glazers doing that. You don't see FFG doing that at Liverpool. They all put money into the football club to make sure that football club was successful. You look at the Glazers, as much as Man United fans hate them, and they've won trophies under different managers. But Daniel Levy always seems to never put the team first, never seems to put the football club first. We are a football club.
Correct.
We're not a business.
He runs it like a Fortune 500.
Yeah, and we're not a business. And you can complain about Alan Sugar all you want. You can complain about Alan Sugar saved us from bankruptcy. Yeah. But at least he put his money in his pocket. And I remember, I always say this, I remember as a young kid going to bed crying, will I have a football club to support in the morning? I never want anyone to go through that feeling of waiting for the 6 o'clock news or the 10 o'clock news back then. Has somebody bought my football club? Because we're that close to going to the wall because of mismanagement. Now, I get Daniel Levy is a businessman. He says he's a Tottenham fan. He's not a Tottenham fan. I mean, we spent 3 seasons and didn't buy anyone after we got a Champions League final. How many more opportunities did this man need to push on to win something, to push on to be successful? I understand your point. Football's changed now. Football's a business. I agree with you. Football's changed from when I was growing up and watching it. It's probably changed from when people older than us were watching it. I get it. And I think you make a lot of points in what you said. But at the end of the day, I'm a Tottenham Hotspur Football Club supporter. I'm not a Tottenham Hotspur Business Club supporter. I
totally understand.
And he's got to realize to succeed and to make sure you get your valuation and get the money you want, you got to make sure what you're selling is winning. Is winning trophies, is winning. If we were winning trophies regularly, he could have named his price. Daniel Levy could name his price, and anyone would come in and buy it because there's a winning culture there. We don't have, and I get what you're saying as well, Steve. When you look at the business side of it, I've always praised Daniel Levy for the business side of it. And you look now, Aston Villa have got Black Sabbath playing at Villa Park. So I think Sean Butler said it the other day. Everyone's taking little bits and pieces of the Levy model and trying to implant it into how they run their club. But also, football comes first, and this is where he's not getting it. Football matters. It's our football club, and I don't mind the NFL being there. I don't mind the go-kart being there. all that money should be going back into the football club, but it's not. It's going back into investment, into building another hotel. I want to welcome a few people in the chat, but you make a few good points as well. By the way,
can I just say this though? And the reality is, like, the way that I look at this as a business transaction, and that's the way I think everybody should do that, without emotion and just looking at from both parties. But I will say that Daniel Levy and Enoch do not want to sell this club. What they really want is investment into the club, right? They want a substantial investor to come in so they can actually pay for the hotel and some of their side projects that add more revenue to the club. That's exactly what he's looking for. Now, if somebody wants to come in and buy the team, they're going to have to pay a premium in order to buy it, because they really don't want to sell. So if somebody's going to come in, you know, Daniel Levy and Enoch are like, listen, $5 million and $5 billion and we're good. And they're looking at it kind of like, come on, seriously? $5 billion when you're only valued at 2.9? That seems a little excessive. Let's meet in the middle and let's make a deal. And he's like, nah, I'm good. But if you want to invest, you know, we're more than happy to sell 20% of the club as an investment. And that's what he's looking for. And you know, that's really the crux of it. And you know, it says in your what's it called right here, your picture, it says that Qatari investors are now said to no longer have interest. I don't necessarily believe that. Generally, how this works is, you know, the first initial negotiation, it doesn't work out, but eventually they're going to come back to the table. You know, they're going to go through at least 5 rounds of negotiation to see if they can get on the right number. Well, and if they don't, they don't, and it is what it is.
Yeah, just a big. I want to say big up to Kate and Jimbo. Big up Kate and Jimbo. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're doing well, Kate. And listen, I'm going to the Palace game. Let me know if you're going, Kate and Jim. I would love to meet up with you. Really would. Just to quickly welcome a few more people. Qatar, as Steve said, Qatar investors have now said no longer have interest in purchasing a stake in Spurs, but not the only ones, because Amanda Stavely, they're not the Amanda Stavely Qatari investment group. So this is only one group that's not interested. Amanda Stavely is still interested and still talking to Tottenham Hotspur. Big up to Jared O'Connor. $4 million was spent to finish 17th. Don't blame Daniel. Yeah.
I heard there's a group of American venture capitalists that might be interested as well too. So
do you know what? I heard that as well. I mean, there's so much you can talk about Daniel Levy, also about the naming rights. Don't get me onto that, because I think it should be called just White Hart Lane. It's built on the damn stadium. Just call it what it is. Sponsors only interested in viewing time, finishing as below as THFE doesn't actually show confidence. No, it doesn't. Big up to Jared as well. That was Paul Brown. Big up, Paul. Respect more than Liverpool we have to finish 17th. Big. Jamie Donnelly, 8 goals, 10 assists for later on. Should go on the preseason tour. I know you got your word on Jamie Donnelly. We are going to talk about it later. I think you make valid points on that, by the way. Big up to Jazz as well. Big Kate, everyone's saying Levy Towers. Levy has never supported Spurs ever. Yeah, I believe that. It's harder now. All clubs in the Prem have lolly now. There's a question I got for you on me on the monitor about the Premier League, and I'm going to ask you in a minute, Steve.
Sure.
Levy doesn't care about the football team fans, so we are done. Well, look, we'll wait and see what happens. Mona Solomon scored 92 million. Big up to Solomon. We've got something on him later as well. A bit him. So we are so screwed fans since 2001 when they took over. Gerard says, over the last 15 seasons, we are 5th and 6th highest playing clubs on wages, and we finished in the log according to what we spent normally in top 6. Jan says, Enoch will be fine if Spurs fade away. No interactive to do anything, raking cash. Exactly.
Incentive,
it's true. Would you be bothered would it bother you if someone bought your club with money from ill-gotten gains like Chelsea and the Russian gangsters?
I think you and I had this conversation a while back.
We did. And
it was specifically geared.
I can't remember. I think we agreed.
Well, yeah, no, it was specifically geared to Qatari and the fact that they had their record on human right violations are exceptional. Would you have a problem if a Qatari investment fund bought the team, knowing the human rights? And I basically said, hey, listen, whatever a country does, or governs itself. You know, I'm an American. We don't necessarily live by those laws, and some people take it for granted. But that being said, I'm in no position to tell another country how to dictate their population. So it's like I just care about winning football.
I actually did this the other night, Adrian, and I actually did a lot of digging into it. I'm not saying you're wrong in your figures, but I worked it out to be 609 million net after sales. So it was round about that. I've actually got it here, the amount figure, so I will bring them up. Actually, I'll do that. I'll find that now. To actually go on to the point where it's that one, isn't it? Let me check. Yeah, here we go. Right. So Tottenham have spent over Tottenham, this is the whole tenure, like 1.7169 billion. We have then got we have bought in sales let me take that off. Sorry, the banner off so people can see that. We've then bought in the 1.1076 billion. Now that works out to be 609. Let me just get to the right bit. That was all the transfer markets, by the way. Sure. It worked out to be 609 million that we've spent as over the ENIC tenure. Okay, well, I'm getting a different figure, Adrian. So I've got mine. So
you guys are pretty close, though. You guys are close. You guys, it seems like you guys are not here to.
I'm not here, but it's round about 10 million. But I did really, just the fact I do my research. I don't just pick numbers up. I really do my research before I do stuff. So, but big up to you, Adrian. Should Daniel break the bank and buy him to try to get success? No. Well, I think he should put money in and buy better players for the manager and back managers, to be fair. We don't do that. I mean, if you look at the last 5 transfer windows we've had on net spend, right? I mean, it's quite hefty. I mean, 23-24 was the most expensive we've ever spent.
Yeah, the outlier is 23-24, but the reality is, it's like, do we need Daniel Levy to go Leeds early 2000s when they were banking on getting to the championship, so they spent well outside their means? No. Or Everton when Everton 5 years ago? No, we don't need to do that. I don't have a problem with the sustainability model, but that being said, it's not necessarily the amount we spend; it's the quality of player we spend with the money that we have. And that's why, again, this gets back to the whole Paratici thing. That's why I'm actually thrilled that he's back, because that dude's going to identify and get the right type of players in for the money that we do have. So
also to go on to that, guys, the board and its advisors of Rothschild & Co. are in discussions for prospective investors. So it's either going to end up being investors into the club, or the club will be sold. The question I have for you, Steve, is I have a gut feeling it's going to be a Man United style takeover, that they will buy the football club over and leave the business side to Levy. Now, if that's the case, then they're going to buy ENIC out, Joe Lewis Trust out. And I think this is where the stumbling block is. It's the ENIC, it's the Lewis Trust that are saying, right, we want this much for our shares. Do you think there will be compromise? I think they will compromise and come, and there will be sort of a valuation they can agree on at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think so as well, too. And again, just because talks are broken down now doesn't mean they're not going to come back to the negotiating table. But that being said, because you guys have to understand that this is what professional sports ownership all about. It's not how much you buy it for, it's how much you sell it for, because it's not the short game, it's the long game. That's exactly why you invest and why you hold on to it for a couple decades, because at the end of the road, you're going to walk away laughing all the way to the bank. And because Daniel Levy owns 20% of the club, ENIC owns 80%, everybody's going to walk away with at least $1 billion. And that's exactly why they put all this time, energy, and money into it. And I definitely agree with you as well, too. There's going to be somebody that's going to come along, whether it's Americans, whether it's Saudis or Qataris, and they're just going to say, you know what, we're going to be able to make it work at this number, and we'll buy it.
And I think if you look at it, they pay off the debts, they pay off the what side and transfers, and then you get a manager coming in who's going to want to be backed, and then you got to look at. We worked out, what was it, between 300 to 500 million It could be if new owners come in. So I really want you owners, because I want to push on. I'm sick of this not waiting all the time. I'm sick of waiting. I'm sick of not competing. I'm sick of just going for top four. That's it. That's not what football's all about. Football's about winning. You look at Liverpool last week. We talked about the entrance, didn't we, when Liverpool were coming into Anfield? And we were talking about, wish that was Tottenham. Can you imagine the fans? And I think we had slight jealousy a little bit. I think jealousy is the wrong word, but we were envious of what we were watching. And you look at the form we've been this season. And I think ENIC will share. I think ENIC will sell. I think ENIC will be bought out. I think Daniel Levy will go into an advisory role on the business side. And I think new owners will come in and push us on to the next level.
I can see a scenario. I was going to say, I can see it. I can see a scenario where the majority, 86.9% of Tottenham's majority ownership gets sold, while Daniel Levy keeps his minority ownership. Yeah. I can see a scenario like that.
Yeah. See, Daniel Levy can't pump money into the team because all these money's linked into the club. So he can't pump money into the team. The Lewis Trust can. That's their job. They're the majority shareholders. They have. So do you feel Daniel Levy, for all these faults, because he's the face of it, he is going to get the brunt of the anger?
Oh, but 100%. He's the one that's out front and center.
Yeah, but I know when they do the protests, it's in out, Levy out. But do you think that Joe Lewis has got away with it? A bit more than Daniel Levy has, because he's the face of it. He's there, as you say, front and center. But you've had the naming rights debacle. We're still waiting for the naming rights. You had transfers where he's got involved and meddled with it and ballsed it up. Yeah. 5 million for Jack Grealish. If we paid 5 million less, we'd have had Jack Grealish, and we were after him in the summer.
Right.
How many more times, he builds a brand new stadium. I get it why everyone hates Daniel Levy, and the mistakes he've made are so public. But should Joe Lewis, before even the Lewis Trust, should they be getting the same blame?
Here's the weird thing. That's a great question. I think everybody has known that, the Lewis, Mr. Lewis and the Lewis family doesn't necessarily care about football. I think there was a time where he may have seen one game per year. I think he's the type of dude that has all his, I think his residence is in Monaco because they don't pay taxes, and he spends all his time in the Caribbean. I think from that standpoint, it's the fact that I would assume that most Spurs fans understand that, Mr. Lewis is just originally was just the main investor, that, the only reason why he bought it was because of the potential return on investment. The guy that's actually running the day-to-day show, Mr. Levy, that's the reason why I think he gets the most shit, is because he's the one that's hands-on day-to-day. He's the one making decisions. And here's the weird thing. A couple days ago, I heard you with I think I heard you with Boris. And you were asking the question, well, who is it that Daniel Levy goes to ask for money? And I said, I was thinking to myself, and I that's a great question. Well, if 86.91% of the company is owned by ENIC, the English National Investment Company, then you would go to the board of ENIC, right? So if you're looking for existing transfer money, you go to the board of ENIC. Well, Daniel Levy sits on the board of ENIC.
It does.
Right. And so it's the reality is it's a non-starter for ENIC to pump money into the club because they have sworn an oath for sustainability. So the money that gets pumped into the transfer market is predicated on the percentage of profit they have off the next year. But here's the question I have for you though. Okay. If you and I both agree that Daniel Levy runs this like an NFL team, an American sports team, where it's all about revenue and profitability, and your transfer budget is predicated on the percentage of profits that you had from the season before. Generally, it's like 4 to 5%. But if they're the ones that are paying themselves back for the money that they spent to build the stadium, do you think a portion of that pot is taken out to pay themselves back for the money, meaning leaving us with very little money to actually spend in the transfer market?
I don't think they pay dividends on themselves, but I know Levy pays himself a wage. He's the highest paid chairman in the Premier League. I think it's very rare they've taken dividends out of the club. If you look at the Glazers, they take dividends out of the club every year. Man United. So I don't think Enoch or Danny Levy have done that very often. Maybe Adrian can quote me on that.
Well, because we know that all the season tickets and all the game day tickets and the match day, a lot of that was already factored into the money that they spent building the stadium. So they're going to get money back on it, right? My question is like if that's a piece of the equation, do they take a couple points off their profit to make sure that they fill in the rest of that gap to pay themselves back on the money that they spent?
I think they will. I agree. I think they will do. Look, if you're running a business, I think they bought Tottenham for, if my memory serves me correctly, 22 million or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And you look at the growth of the Premier League between then and now.
Yeah.
In 23 years, how big the Premier League has got. How you look at even the TV rights back then to much the TV rights now. Everything has quadrupled in revenue. So, I mean, somebody said it the other day. Why do English clubs struggle in Europe? Because they get more money for qualifying for the Champions League in the Premier League than they do for winning the European trophy. And that, I think that was somewhere on TalkSport somewhere. I listened to that, and it was a very good discussion they were having, and it's true.
Why do English clubs struggle in European tournaments?
Yeah, because they will get more.
3 reasons.
Yeah.
Bayern Munich, Barcelona, Real Madrid.
No, it's not even the teams. It's they get more for finishing. Say the Europa League, we're going to get 4.5 million for winning the Europa League, right? If we finish 4th in the Premier League, we probably get treble that or quadruple that for finishing in 4th for qualifying for the Champions League. Plus the money you get for qualifying for the Champions League. Right. Plus the money then you get for television rights for the Premier League. So you're already working at over 100 million already, if you put everything in together. So, look, the Premier League is a very, very on market itself. It will bring in all the investors in the world. Everyone wants to own a Premier League club because they know they're going to make shitloads of money at it. Then you bring in the name of the club, like Man United, Liverpool, Arsenal. The big 6. Then that adds more money to the pot. So Daniel Levy was thinking in there, I'm sitting on a gold mine here.
Yeah.
An absolute gold mine. Now, one model that's been considered by the Qatari group, Levy would be offered a management contract to run the club, which would remain in place even if Enoch, that owns 86.91% of Tottenham, becomes a minority shareholder. Adrian said in the chat he can see that happening. This was it here. Levy and Enoch will keep a proportion. And I agreed that as well. I think Alan Sugar kept it for a few years before he sold completely.
Yeah, I think it was 3 before he was eventually bought out completely. And I mentioned that earlier, right? If 86 point whatever percent is the majority ownership, that would be sold while Daniel Levy and Enoch will retain a minority ownership. Yeah. To me, that just seems like it's common sense. But the thing about it is that Daniel Levy still wants to be the chairman of the club.
Yeah.
During the portion of a takeover, he still wants to be involved, and that's going to be the question, right? Is that something that new ownership would be comfortable doing? And I probably would assume yes, because look at his track record business wise, he's been absolutely phenomenal. But I guess the question that I'm going to have for you though is: does Daniel Levy change his tune when it comes to spending somebody else's money?
Well, yeah, anyone would. Anyone
Just
would.
curious.
No, it's seriously. If you were Daniel Levy and I was a Qatari businessman, right, and I came in and said, right, Daniel, I'm going to give you $1 billion, right? I'm going to pay for a minority at Tottenham, and I'm giving you $500 million to go and spend on players. Bring in whoever you want. Daniel Levy will spend that like it's no tomorrow because it's not his own money. He's not endangering his own investment. He's not endangering. And this is what it is at the end of the day. All his money's tied up within Tottenham Hotspur.
Correct.
So he's looking at the best investment he's going to get out of the product that he's trying to build.
Correct.
So when people say, well, can Daniel Levy not pump money in? Daniel Levy hasn't got to pop the piss in because all his money's in assets within Tottenham
except the
and Enoch as well.
Except for the $3.5 million a year that he pays himself to run the football club. That's pretty much it. But your point is correct. Your point is correct.
So this is where the Lewis Trust should say, right, we need to make up the shortfall here. Now, it was talked on TalkSport during the week that Tottenham have no cash and we're going to have to sell to buy. Now, I don't literally believe that. I think we are going to talk about transfers, but they suggesting that if you sell a couple of your high-profile players with high wages, you end up getting money in to spend money. But you don't have to do that. There's a lot of players out there that are on freeze at the moment, and Adrian did put 2 into the chat. Jonathan David, and the other one is who's the other one? Jonathan Todd. Now, 2 players. All you got to do is pay them the wages and a signing on fee, which isn't a lot of money in the big scheme of things. But Tottenham, I don't think Tottenham are in this bad state as everyone believes to be. And I think the media can sort of also, if you look at Tottenham when we lose a game like we lost against Liverpool. And I was watching TalkSport, always listen to Jim White and Simon Jordan every day, 10-1. Have it on when I'm working, have it on in the background, love the show. But they're so dramatic with the Tottenham in crisis, Tottenham in this, Tottenham that. And it isn't as bad. Yes, we've had a bad season, but every team has them. So my question to you is, if you were Paratici, you're coming into the club, you got 5 players to sell, and Levy says, right, you need to sell before you can buy. Who are them 5 players? I know Adrian's put them in. So he says you sell Romero, Richarlison, Basuma, Solomon, Hill. Højbjerg's already going anyway. We're bringing them in 120 million to add to transfer fund. Now, I would agree with Richarlison and Basuma. Solomon, we've got something on Solomon, so we know that. Brian Hill, I think I would let him go to. Højbjerg, we know he's already gone to
Marseille.
Who's he playing for? Where's he playing for now, Fran?
Marseille. Yeah, Marseille.
Marseille.
In Liga 1.
Olympic Marseille. So that's gone.
Yep.
Romero. We had a discussion about this today, didn't we? About Romero. I think Romero's not going anywhere. My reason is no. Because I think whoever comes in, with Paratici coming in, and with a new manager coming in, and even if the managers, I mean, we've heard rumors today, haven't we, of Klopp, Inzaghi. We've heard the Mourinho rumors. All over, haven't we? Pochettino, of course.
Yeah.
Now, Daniel Levy did want to bring Pochettino back, but Don and Colin and the other one didn't want to bring him back, which I think is a big mistake. And I thought Daniel Levy being chairman, he has the final say, but obviously he got outvoted. Do you think Romero's looking for progress for him to commit? Say, do you know what? I can commit to this. He wants to see progress. And do you think Paratici coming back in does help Romero with that sort of make up his mind of, do you know what? My head's maybe turned with going to La Liga one day, but for the foreseeable future, I can see progress at this club. How important is it to get in a decent manager if Ange does go? Well, we know Ange might be going, but say if just for argument's sake, he goes, we lose on Thursday. Just say for argument's sake, we're not losing, we're in the final, but just say for a hypothetical, we lose on Thursday, he gets sacked Friday. Who do you want to come in as manager? And I want people in the chat as well. Who would you like the next Spurs manager to be? I've got 2 names. I would love Jurgen Klopp to come. I can't see it 100%. Happening. I would love it. But I think Inzaghi for me, or Xavi. We know Xavi could be going to Saudi Arabia. He's very close to signing for, I forget the name of the Saudi Arabian club. But they're my 3 managers. Who's your 3, Steve?
It's Jurgen Klopp would be at the top of my list. And right now he's the global director of Red Bull energy drinks. He's selling Red Bull around the world and Red Bull soccer, but he's got an out in his contract that allows him to take another coaching job if he decides to go down that road. But here's the thing with getting Jurgen Klopp, he's not going to come to Tottenham Hotspur unless you make concessions, right? Yeah. Number one, you're going to have to pay him, right? And we're talking like in that $15 to $20 million type of situation. But you're also going to have to give him concessions because he's coming here to rebuild, essentially take whatever we have and then build upon that and continue seeing this project forward. And that's going to take what, 3 years. But there's going to be some kind of concessions with that, where every single year there has to be there's going to have to be a transfer budget available for him to actually bring in the right players to do that. I know he said that he won't come here with Liverpool connections, but that being said, he wants to return to the Premier League. And this is the type of club that he would do it. He took on the challenge of Borussia Dortmund, and he got them to win a Champions League. He took on the challenge of Liverpool at the time, which was not necessarily that great of a side when he took over, and he got them to win a Champions League. That being said, if Jurgen Klopp is a pipe dream, my second name would probably be Inzaghi, just because of the Paratici connections with Italy. The two know each other, and I would probably assume the two have a mutual respect for each other. Now, I don't know if they've necessarily worked for him, because I know Inzaghi, before you took over Inter Milan, was at Lazio for 6 years. And I don't know if Paratici before Juventus was like a consultant with Lazio, but I know that there is some connection between the two of them. And I would probably assume that Paratici is going to go down that route. But that being said, you also have to consider Mauricio Pochettino as well too. Maybe not now, but after the 2026 World Cup, I can potentially see Spurs going down that road. There's a familiarity. Daniel Levy didn't want to sack him in the first place. And Daniel Levy also still has a love affair. They're still incredibly good friends. So you have to take that into consideration. But I would say that for me personally, Jurgen Klopp would be at the top of the list. And there's no problem with giving him a call and putting your offer on the table and seeing what he says. But if he says no, then you would probably like to think that Inzaghi is probably going to be that dude, just considering the Italian connections.
Adrian, I would love to meet up with you if you're at the Palace game. Hit me up on X as well, and let me up, and we'll meet up. If you do drink, we'll meet up for a pint. I'm with him. I would like Xavi. I love Xavi. He says Xavi at 776 against Barcelona, knows football, bought in young players under financial consent. I would love Xavi. Spurs, Jazz future. I want no part of Levy, Poch to. I don't want Poch back. I'm very much against Poch coming back. I think he's got a job to do where he is with the American men's team, with the World Cup coming up.
Yeah, I agree. Not right now, but I can see in a couple of years them kicking down that road. But here's the question though, right? With Xavi, and there is links to Saudi Arabia. I understand that, but don't you think that it's going to be easier, whether it's Inzaghi, whether it's Jurgen Klopp, or if it's Xavi? It's going to be easier to sell them Tottenham Hotspur, knowing that we have Champions League next year. It's going to be night and day easier than it would be if all we have are the domestic cup competitions and Premier League next year.
And also, Paratici knows how to sell the club. I mean, you look
Correct.
at Bentoncourt, Kulu, you look at the players he's brought in.
It makes it easier.
Yeah, it makes it a hell of a lot easier. It really does. And Champions League, this is why it's so vital this Europa League is, and why I actually said I was speaking to Dave earlier. Me and Dave were talking, and he's trying to convince me to go to Bilbao. It ain't happening, but he is trying to convince me to go to Bilbao. If I wanted an early divorce, I'd go to Bilbao. But I was saying to him that, you know, it doesn't matter what we do. We've got to get Champions League football next season. It's important. A, it fills in the black hole financially. B, you got players like B, you got Romero thinking I ain't going anywhere because I'm getting what I want. C, any player that wants to come to Tottenham Hotspur, we're thinking, Jesus, I'm going to play in the best European competition in the world. And D, we're going to have a manager that will know how to set up a team to go far into that competition. No disrespect to Ange Postecoglou. I love Ange to death. I really want Ange to do well. I always will be an Ange supporter wherever he goes. I love him for what he did to my beloved Celtic. I love he came in, he fixed us, he was successful at us. I know you and me had the discussion the other day, Steve, about the difference between the Premier League and the Scottish League and him winning against lower leagues teams in the Premier League, which you do make a very good point about. But he did go and beat Man United, Man City, so he can do it.
Sure.
But I think if you have a manager like Xavi, who's been there and done it, if you have a manager like Inzaghi, who's been there and done it, if you've got a manager like Jurgen Klopp, who's been there and done it. Now, I'm not sitting here saying Jurgen Klopp's going to be our next manager. That would be a pipe dream. But I think we've got to be realistic who we're going to go after as our next manager. And it's got to be a manager that's got to come in and win now. So one question before we get on to the last bit of the program, the show about transfers. I'm going to say him, and we were told why he won't come earlier today. Jose Mourinho. If he was offered a Paratici, if Paratici went to Jose and said, look, Jose, which players do you want? I can get you these players. Do you think there'd be a better communication between Mourinho and Mourinho and Paratici instead of Mourinho and Hitchen and Levy? Do you know what I mean? Because the last time Mourinho was in charge, Steve Hitchen was the director of football. Under a Paratici, does that change a manager's mind about Colm coming to the club? I know about the DNA, but I want us to be successful here first.
And the difference 100%, and I definitely think that as well too, because there's a difference between an incompetent director of football that we currently have that isn't on the same page with his manager, that isn't playing to the strengths of his manager, that is taking pipe dreams on young talent instead of bringing in some experience. That's what Ange Postecoglou likes. That's what he wants. I think that has been a train wreck of a partnership because you have a guy in Johan Lang that isn't communicating with his coach. You have a guy like Paratici who understands that in order to be successful as a football club, you have to work with your manager. You have to put him in the best possible position to succeed, which means every player that you're identifying has to match the strengths of the way that your manager plays. And of course, with Jose Mourinho, he's probably going to want a better quality player. Now, that doesn't mean you have to spend hundreds of million pounds on one or two players. You can still be in that $40 to $60 million range for players, but those players have to have the attributes that match the strengths of whatever your coach is. So I would probably 100% assume that Mourinho would take another shot at it, knowing that A, there's going to be money that's going to be spent, and B, you have a director of the football that's working with you, not against you.
Yeah, I know. Adrian said Jose Mourinho is not Spurs DNA. Look, I get that. But do we as fans have to compromise to be successful? I get it. We want to play the Tottenham way. I'm with Adrian. There's a certain way you play at Tottenham, and it's free flowing football. It's the Tottenham way.
Yeah,
I get
attacking
that.
football, 100%.
And I'm behind that 100%. That's Tottenham for me. That's the way I grew up watching Glenn Hoddle, Chris Waddle, Paul Gascoigne playing the Tottenham way in the 80s, early 90s. Adrian's probably seen it all. He's probably seen the Bill Nix sides and the 70 sides and that. So it's Philip Brady. But do we have to compromise now? Football's different now, isn't it? Football has changed over the decades and over the years. Do you compromise as a fan? So Chill Music Stats is basically the same question. Would a Jose Mourinho and Paratici work? But also, would a Vange worked? Would a Paratici and worked as well?
100%. And again,
do you compromise? Do you have to compromise on your beliefs to be successful? I think you do, which is a sad thing to say, but I think you've got to compromise.
Yeah.
You have to compromise in life and everything you do.
Oh, without a doubt. What I will say is, number one, would Jose Mourinho even be interesting coming back to Spurs, knowing that he was sacked a couple days before a final? That's the first question that I have. And if he is interested, okay, that's great. But here's the thing, right? I've always believed this about professional sports, right? Goals are for show, but defenses win you championships. And the way that Jose Mourinho has always played is being rock solid and accountable defensively, but also having the wherewithal to attack on the counter. And that's just the way that he plays. Does it matter? Does it matter if you win a football match 2-1, 2-0, 1-0, as long as you win? Does it have to be the sexiest brand of football that you need to play in order to win a Premier League? Absolutely not. Jose Mourinho proved it time and time again that he can win the Premier League playing his style. That's the thing. It's like, I don't necessarily care. Actually, that's not true. I do care, because I do want the DNA of Tottenham to be there. But that being said, you're absolutely right. There should be some compromises. But that being said, it's like, I just want to see this club hoist the Premier League trophy. Yeah, that's exactly right. And I do believe in Joe. I don't believe that Jose Mourinho, the knock on him is that maybe his time has passed him up, and it's a different game. Me personally, I just think he's chosen horrible teams to manage. He's chosen teams that didn't necessarily suit him. But that being said, it's like, I would have no problem with Mourinho coming back, because I think it would be absolutely fantastic. But the one thing you cannot do, and it's one thing to sell some of your fringe players that are on the fringe of your first team in order to make up the difference for your transfer window. But it's certainly another thing to sell off players that are going to be key members of your starting 11, that are the foundation of your team. I'm talking about Christian Romero. That is a non-starter for me. Now, on the screen, we have Rodrigo Betancourt. And I do believe that he has 1 year left. So this would be the time where you can cash in on Rodrigo Betancourt.
Yeah, his contract, he's got a year on June 30th. He then runs into his last year of his contract. Then it gets to January. I just want to ask one more question before we get to the last bit of it. It's just somebody put in the chat, and it's just, and I know what Adrian is saying when I bring it up, and I will bring up Davis Clark's comment as well, and then I'll bring up Chill's music just to finish this segment off, because it's been a really good discussion, and maybe in another show next week or the week after, we could have a proper show in this, and maybe look back at previous managers with the squad and try to work out between us, do you think would they have been successful? But he says the problem with Spurs, and Adrian's putting some really good comments. I've really enjoyed your comments tonight, Adrian. And listen, if you're free, I'd love to invite you onto a show. Probably when I'm back from England, I would love to have you on and do a show with you. Really would. The problem with Spurs is that we have a traditional style of play, attacking football. Yes. And I know, Adrian, we've been brought up in that. I was brought up in that. You were brought up with the push and run side of the 60s, 50s. And that. I'm not calling you old, but I'm just saying, you had the Bill Nick who played in that push and run side of the 50s that led on to the to a new generation of push and run for the 60-61 double winner side and the success that Bill Nick had as manager. That should be of any new manager between you know, Q and on, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
To keep going on. I'm sorry I can't pronounce. Sorry, I can't pronounce certain words. I do apologize. Then you got Chill Music saying Romero and Van de Ven would be ideal for Mourinho. Yeah, and he says Paratici would be ideal for Mourinho, ready-made players. Is that the look for me? I think that's been. You look at Paratici transfer window to a Lang transfer window. A Paratici transfer window. Conte, I need 2 players in. Who did you bring in? Bentancur and Kulu. What did we get that year? Top 4. Lang, Lee Ange goes to Lang. I need players. Who did you bring in? Gray and Bergville. Now, for luck or whatever you want to call it, they've been exceptional this season because of an injury crisis. But I think Ange would have worked better with the Paratici director of football because he would have given Ange what he wanted, which was ready now players. Wasn't it Paratici that brought in Perisic?
I believe so. I think you're right.
I think that was under a Paratici window. I think there's a ready-made player.
Yeah.
I mean, we could have done with Paratici this last season when we let him go, by the way.
But, you know, the proof is in the pudding. Look at our starting 11 and look how many guys that were brought into Paratici that are cornerstone players for this team, right? Yeah. And that's how I judge the overall that's how I judge their overall performance is how many misses versus how many hits. Okay. Yeah. And when I look at Johan Lang, Timo Werner did not hit. Radu Dragic, when he played, he wasn't really all that great, wasn't a hit. You look at Matisse Tell, too small of a sample size. You look at Wilson Odegaard, again, too small of a sample size. We do know what we have with Bergvall and Gray. I love those 2. But then you look at Kevin Danso, too small of a sample size. You look at Kinski, not a starter. It's like you look at the success rate of Johan Lang versus Paratici. Yes, Lang has some hits, but he has more misses than hits versus Paratici, who has more hits than misses. And I just think you look at the proof is in the pudding. And look at how our players are commodities around the world. I mean, Paratici was not a dummy.
I know Paratici was banned, Drew. I'm just making out, Drew. I was just making out a hypothetical question. If Paratici, and it was I think Chill Music, but then what would have happened with a Paratici and Lang together? So I know Paratici was banned.
Can I ask you a question real quick? Is it true?
I was just making.
Was it true? Was it true that Paratici advised against hiring Ange, that he didn't think Ange was a good fit for this club?
Yeah.
And they hired him anyway?
Yeah. See, Paratici was doing advisory work for Tottenham. He couldn't do any work, but he could advise. And that's what he was advising. He didn't want Postecoglou in as Tottenham manager. He wanted somebody in that's a manager that knows what they're doing, that's been at the top level. That's why Conte, I think, came in, because Paratici knew Conte. So he has these links. So this is why I think this Inzaghi link has legs on it. I rarely do.
I do too.
And also, look, we've heard, I think Mourinho, I think you can count out these managers. Mourinho, he's going to believe in Fenerbahce. Though I do think Mourinho may end up at Rangers, actually, funnily enough.
I've heard that too, I've heard that too.
So look, I think Paratici has the pull. He has the links, and he knows how to sell something. Drew goes, big up to David Clark. Drew says it would have been great to have seen. It could have brought in if he was able. Yeah, exactly.
I agree.
Yeah, Lang was just following Levy's instructions to follow his youth policy. So blame Levy, not Lang. Werner was signed on loan twice. Look, I will blame Lang. Lang does not get away with this. I'm sorry. Lang's at fault for he's the director of football. So sorry, I will blame Lang. Also, how do we know Langer's remit wasn't too low with the wage bill and aged squad? If that's the case, he's actually done pretty well. If that's right, we don't know what the remit is. We can only guess. If that was his remit, then I will hold my hands up and say he's done a great job. But we don't know 100% what the remit is. We don't know if Angie's gone to Lang and says, I want A, B, and C, and Lang's come back and says, sorry, I can only get you A, B, and C.
Yeah.
He had to take Ange Postecoglou to get Mateus Tau to come to the club. And I think, was there now another player that Levy had to go out there with Ange as well to get to the club? Was there 2 players?
Well, you know, Randall Kulu-Mwani was the first initial player that rejected Spurs, and I think that was considered to be a slam dunk considering the relationship between the Qatari owners of PSG and Daniel Levy. They have a really good relationship, so that was looked to be like a slam dunk type of loan move with an option to buy. But Johan Lang couldn't sell Tottenham to Randall Kulu-Mwani, who ends up with Juventus, and he hit the ground running with Juventus, by the way.
And it was Paratici that rebuilt the youth system when the youth academy. It was we didn't have a youth. We didn't have when Paratici is the one that built it up. That was probably one of the bits he did. He got a scouting system that worked properly. He got a youth system that was working properly. And you look at the youth system. You look at Donnelly. You look at Mikey Moore. You look at the players that are coming through now. Abbott as well. Them players are really proven. They're off the Paratici sort of what he built. Right. Also, are you telling me beforehand that Gabardini's free as well? So he may be coming back as well, by the way.
So, and I think it's important to realize that, you know, Tottenham necessarily has never really had a strong academy, but, you know, when Paratici came through the door, it was, it was sold as being a streamlined process that was enabling Tottenham to sell some of their top academy prospects for profit. Like that was the model, right? So if we're working under constrained budgets, you have to find different measures in order to pump up your transfer wages. You know, that was the whole idea of making sure that your academy is streamlined. Because if they get to the first team, they're going to be in a position to sell them for profit to boost up your transfer.
Well, let's finish off with some transfer rumors. These are rumors until otherwise. So I'm not going to say these are going to happen. These are rumors. These were given to me, but we are transferring them as rumors. We will not say this is definite until I can get 100%. Unlike the Don, which we broke yesterday, and it's now come out that he is coming back to Spurs. So we are your #1 channel for breaking Spurs news. Just putting it out there. I'm really proud of that. I'm really proud that this channel has that reputation of breaking news first. Listen, and I'm proud of it. And
I appreciate it too. That's what I really appreciated getting texts in the morning where you're like, hey man, I got to tell you something. And then it's awesome that we can jump on the air and talk about it when it breaks. And
you wait to the transfer window. You wait. I wake. What I love about the window is I get from my source, all right. I wake up to about 30 messages of not just Tottenham, the whole Premier League, which is fairly, and I love that sort of buzz. I get a real big buzz. Anyway, Bentancur potential move out of Tottenham as Atletico have come in sniffing around the Spurs midfield around 30-35 million. A year left in his contract. I think that's a goer. Out of 10, I'll give that a 7 out of 10 of being right. What about you? Out of 10 for you, Steve?
I'll give it like a 9 out of 10. And especially if because we've heard that Spurs are interested in having him resign. But if there is if Rodrigo Betancourt doesn't want to sign, then he's got 1 year left, and you're not going to let him walk on a free. You're going to get something back for him. But it's also worth mentioning that Atletico Madrid has ambition for this offseason. They both want Betancourt and Christian Romero, but there's also a caveat because Tottenham Hotspur are very interested in bringing Conor Gallagher back to the Premier League. And it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what happens between Atletico and Tottenham Hotspur if they can swing some sort of deal that allows Spurs to get their hands on Conor Gallagher. That's going to be an interesting. That's going to be an interesting storyline.
Could you see a swap deal between Bentancur and Gallagher?
You know, if it was Betancourt for Gallagher and Spurs kicked in like 20 million on top of it,
yeah, I can see that happening.
You would like to think. It all depends on what the valuation for Conor Gallagher is.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Well, look, we'll do a digging on that. We're doing that, and then because Johnny Carsaldo, you know this player better than
Cardoso.
I do. Carsaldo, I've got to get his name right. Sorry, has apparently been part of a pre-agreed transfer to Tottenham for £21 million.
Steal.
Now, you know American soccer more than I do. This is your remit. I'm still learning. I'm still learning the MLS. I'm still learning about American soccer, and I'm enjoying learning about American soccer, by the way, in MLS. I think the MLS is probably the third best league in the world for me, apart from the Premier League, my Irish League, and the MLS. I really do. I've watched Seattle a few times, and I watched a bit of the Inter Miami game last week, the Red Bull game last week. Yeah. It was fantastic, and I'll be watching it tonight if I can find it. I will watch it tonight. But 21 million, is that a steal or is that a good price?
I think $21 million for a CDM that has been cutting his teeth in La Liga actually could be a very good steal, considering his ceiling. His ceiling is incredibly high. Some people have even compared him to Bournemouth CDM Tyler Adams as far as American CDMs go, and that is a huge compliment for a guy like Johnny Cardoso. And one of the things that I've liked about Johnny, he had a few knocks this year. He missed some time, but for the most part, played more than 75% of Real Betis's games this year. And he, like Lucas Bergvall, his development every single month has gotten better. And now the question is whether that can translate to the Premier League. And again, this is going to be a situation where ideally you would like to have somebody starting in that an experienced CDM playing above him. So when he does come in, there's no pressure on him and he's able to develop. But that being said, one of the things that concerns me a little bit, and I don't know how you feel about this, when you look at our current league form and the fact that it seems like this club has treated Premier League games like their friendlies. And when you look at what's happened now with the U.S. men's national team losing to Panama, losing to Canada, and they also treated those like friendlies, even though it was the Nations League. And this has been something since last year's Copa America. The question is whether or not that is going to be good to have Johnny Cardoso come into this team right now without actually having leadership in this group that is not going to allow complacency. That's my only concern. But from a football perspective, Johnny Cardoso has an incredibly high ceiling, and for 21 mil, it's not that big of a transfer fee. As far as if you're banking on his ceiling, 21 million for an incredibly high ceiling for a six who could potentially be that cornerstone six for this club, I think that's actually kind of a steal.
And if you think about it, I like him. I've seen him a bit on YouTube. I've done my little bit on my research on him.
Good. He's gotten so good.
Some of the stuff. Now, just very quickly, Gerard, not Gerard, sorry, Adrian, I do apologize. I very do. It says, why Gallagher over? Because I think Gallagher could be coming in for Basuma, and then you could have Cardoso over for Bentancur.
Yeah.
I think you can have both. So I think that's what might happen.
But also, Conor Gallagher gives you flexibility, right? So
it does.
Let's say this scenario happened where they got a transfer offer for James Maddison and they took it. The flexibility of what Conor Gallagher could give you, because he can play the 6, he can play the 8, and he can play the 10. So that is the flexibility of a guy like Conor Gallagher. Plus, he's goal dangerous, right? So there's a lot of different ways that you can use Conor Gallagher and still bring in Johnny Cardoso to what I consider a very talented pool of sixes with Lucas Bergvall, with Archie Gray, and having those three competing for that starting spot. three young, hungry kids competing for that one
Yeah.
spot. That's not a bad CDM room. That's all I'm saying.
It's bad, no. Just in the last bit of news, I think this is the last bit of news. It is Manor Solomon. Well, congratulations to him for winning the championship today with Leeds. Future in doubt, even though both play on current club, Leeds would like to make the move permanent. He will wait to see what happens with the managerial situation at Leeds over the summer. Harry Kane has to wait till next week to win his first major trophy, and Eric Dyer. This man even surprised me. If it couldn't surprise me, he just surprises me even more.
Right.
He's now leaving Bayern Munich, where he's guaranteed trophies every season, to go to Monaco. don't ask me, but Harry Kane will win this champ. But congratulations to Solomon as well. Very, very, very good. Well, listen, guys, we've got West Ham tomorrow, and we do have Adrian starting 11. He is going with Kinski, Reglan, Davis, Danso, Gray, Basuma, Sarr, Moore, Tout, Richarlison. You make 11 changes. No, we haven't done the predicted lineup. I'll be honest with you. I'll be glad when the Premier League football season's finished. I feel tired. I feel a bit. The Europa League, so things keeping me going. I would not make it. I agree with. Look, I get what he's getting at. You wrap all the players up in cotton wool and just send out the second string side.
To an extent. To an extent.
I agree with the front three. Tell Richarlison, Odegaard. I do agree with that. Gray, Sarr, yes. You probably would have to play Basuma.
Yeah, I think Kulusevski gets in. He needs to start.
He does.
Kulusevski needs to start.
So do you put Kulu instead of Basuma then?
I would actually start. Kulusevski over Papsar, and I would actually have a Basuma, Gray, Kulusevski midfield. One of the things that I get the impression that after that performance that Basuma put, and again, I didn't think it was a phenomenal performance.
No.
But that being said, the fact that he hasn't really played a lot of football over the course of the last couple of months, he's kind of been phased out. If he's going to play a role now that Bergvall is out, he also needs to get a run out there in a starting position as well too. To me, that makes a little bit more sense. And you can always bring on Papsar as well too. But the interesting thing is, and I know Adrian, and he loves running out Kinski every single predictive lineup over the course of the last 4 weeks. He's always had Kinski in there. But here's the thing though, right? It's a little bit different because Decky needs to not only get his 90 minutes up to snuff, but he has to also have to get his match sharpness up as well too. So it wouldn't be that big of a deal to run him out for the first 45 minutes if you want to pull him and bring on Sarr. But that being said, it's like, you want Kulusevski to be ready for Thursday, and playing him for 45 minutes against West Ham, it's not the worst idea in the world.
I agree with Adrian. I wouldn't risk it if we don't know about Maddison, and we'll only know about Maddison probably in the pre-post fronts. There will be an Ange talk Spurs before the Europa League game. There will be an Ange post talk Spurs afterwards. That'll be done live, by the way, as well, because next Friday, I fly to Tottenham. I'm going over for the Palace game. So you will have the luxury of Steve and James running the channel.
Ooh.
I'm trusting them now. I'm trusting you.
Can I ask you this quick question though?
You can ask me anything you like. Look, can I just say
Adrian
something?
Here.
Can I just say something? You don't have to keep saying, "Can I ask you a question?" Just ask.
Well,
me.
No,
you're part of the channel now. You're you're part of the channel.
Okay.
Just ask me. I appreciate being polite, but you don't have to keep asking me.
Adrian here in the chat says, would you play Mikey Moore as the number 10? I don't think so, but I do think that this is a game where Mikey Moore needs to get some minutes. I think this is the perfect opportunity. And if you remember, he made the match day squad against Bodo in the first leg. But do you also think that this might be a game where I don't know if it's the juice is worth the squeeze to play Matisse Tell against West Ham. I think it's in my estimation is we saw a very different left side when Tell came on for Richarlison in the first leg, and I would probably assume that there's going to be a potential for Matisse Tell to start on Thursday. Do you think this would be a good opportunity to bring Timo Werner back into the matchday squad? Because if this is going to be a lineup that's going to be squad players anyways, this to me feels like, you know, even putting Timo Werner out there for 60 minutes is going to allow a little bit more flexibility on that left-hand side. I just I look at this as a perfect time to give Timo Werner some run on the left, or potentially even Mikey Moore starting on the right.
Yeah. To answer your first question, I would start Mikey Moore as a number 10 because I think he has the talent to do that. I really do. I'm just looking at right. We all know Madison's injured, right? And this is a predicted lineup from, I won't name which website it's from, but I just want to read you it, right? This is gone. This is the lineup they've gone. I'm actually gonna. Actually, I can actually
let's see it.
Do that, and it's actually from a place called I can't see them. What's the name of the place called? It's right. It's from some. I do laugh. It's from some India website on Spurs News Now, which I use quite a lot for all my news. Right. That's the lineup they've gone for. Now, please tell me, and what? Now we know Madison's injured, right? Would you really play that 11 against West Ham? No. Just
if we were chasing down a top 4, then yes, but we're not. So no.
No. But to your question, your question, yes, I would play Mikey Moore at number 10. I think that's a position where he will play in the future. I think he's got the talent to play there. I would also tomorrow I would play Tell tomorrow.
Timo Werner?
No.
No,
I would not want him anywhere near my starting 11. I don't care. Timo Werner for me is no.
He's making 165,000 pounds a week, and I understand that he's been essentially persona non grata in the second half. But that being said, and this is where Adrian comes in. He says, "Well, good call as we are unknown territory with Son's fitness, and if Matisse Tell is going to be that dude on Thursday, then if this is a match where everybody's going to be wrapped in cotton, it would make sense to put him out there." And it would make sense for Mikey Moore to get run on the right side. The only reason why I don't think Mikey Moore would be good at the 10, not to say that he can't do it, is we just haven't seen him play that position.
Yeah.
But here's I'm going to give you my quick, what I think is going to happen. I think Vicario is going to start because Vicario always starts. And I actually do agree. And I think it might've been Adrian again, who used the name Sergio Reguilon. I would actually use this as an opportunity to give some Reguilon some play. And especially if you want to chop and change, maybe later in the match, you can go that direction. But I have Reguilon, Davis, Danso, and then I have Spence on the right. I have Gray, Basuma, and Kulusevski in the midfield. And then up top, I would have Werner, Richarlison, and Mikey Moore starting.
Sorry, it was just Mrs. Thomas asking me because we need to go and have our dinner. Sorry, she's asking me when I was finished. I disagree with you on Reguilon because I don't think if Andrew was going to use him, he would have used him by now.
Oh, I think we're in that position. I think we're in the position now where I think we all understand exactly what's at play here. All the eggs are in the Europa League basket, right? And so I would just say that, okay, if that's the case and you're going to protect all your best players, fair enough. That's why you have a squad to back it up.
Yeah.
And listen, we all know that Reguilon's going to be gone. We know that Werner's going to be gone.
Yeah.
But that being said, in a game like this where I don't know what Tottenham squad is going to show up this Sunday, I don't know how you feel about it, but for me, it's like if you have players that are healthy and who can provide something, this would probably be the game to do it anyway.
I get what
and maybe it's just because I'm the only remaining Timo Werner fan left standing on the face of the earth, and I think that I just think that this game, Crystal Palace. Whatever the case may be down as this season ends, I personally think until we actually have definitive answer on what's going on with Sonny, and Matisse Tell is typically our starting left wing, this would probably make sense to also have Matisse Tell 100% ready for Thursday as well too.
I look, Richarlison for me might get a start tomorrow because he needs match games as well. So you may get him in the left. Sonny. I think Sonny's been kept for Thursday.
Who's your starting striker tomorrow then, or on Sunday? Who's your starting striker? Solanke?
No,
because I don't think he's going to play.
No, I don't think Solanke will play. I think he's a doubt. So I think if you're going to doubt him, then don't play him.
Wouldn't it be interesting if Decky got put up top? We saw him in the preseason playing up top.
I think Decky might come on as a substitute.
I'd
put Richie up front, put Odegaard and Tell on the wing. I think that's your front three.
So you want to start Matisse Tell tomorrow?
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I think you look, nothing against Werner. I think you put him on the bench, bring him on with half an hour to go or something like that.
Yeah.
I got no look. I agree with Adrian Scarlett. I think tomorrow's a great bring on Scarlett tomorrow.
I heard that Dane Scarlett has a knock, and that's why he hasn't. That's why he hasn't been featured even in the matchday squad. I heard it's because he's got a knock.
Yeah, I haven't seen him in many. I haven't seen him in any of the training videos either. By the way, the ones that come up today, there was nothing said about it in the press conference. I don't think so. Look, whoever he picks tomorrow, it's going to be an interesting. You're going to get fans that are big up to John Fitzpatrick as well. My big up John Fitzpatrick, my Irish brother from Limerick. Hope you and the family in Limerick are doing well, sir. Look, whoever he picks tomorrow, he's going to get criticised anyway. Sure. Why did not? He can't win. So I think it's all about Thursday. It's all about getting to that final. It's all about getting to that European final.
Yeah.
But I want to finish on this thing. I do not want to lose tomorrow. West Ham for me, I don't like West Ham. Never have done, never will do. Don't like the fans. Don't like East London. Just never have. There's only 3 teams I've hated that I don't like: West Ham, Chelsea, Arsenal. And Millwall. That's 4.
I've never cared about West Ham. Like, they're always that team that was always, that quintessential on a good year, they're an 8th place team, and a bad year, they're a 14th place team.
Yeah.
I've never really cared that much about West Ham United, and it's no disrespect to their fans or the club itself. It's just you were always that little brother that can never just kick on.
Yeah.
You were always the little brother that just couldn't get right.
Can I just say, Adrian, as a massive Marvel fan, I love that. As a massive Marvel fan, and hang on, I do have him here. Here he is. I do have my little Thor. Here he is, ready to hammer Bodo Glint. I love that.
Do you know what?
Yeah, I do love that. As a massive Marvel fan, that for me is comment on off the stream. But big up the Spurs diehards. They do great stuff over there with Drew, and hopefully we can get Adrian and Drew on more next season. Actually, because I would love to do more shows with them. Actually, so big up to you guys.
Do you know what I want to see tomorrow?
Well,
I just want to see a hard 90. Yes, I would love. Of course, I'd love to see a win, but I want to see a hard played 90. Throw caution to the wind when you need to. If you're going to play a little bit more compact, that's fine. But if you're on the counterattack, I want to see a commitment to getting numbers forward. I don't want to see these players being tentative because they're worried about being caught out. If they concede a goal, that's great. Short-term memory, and keep pressing hard and keep trying to score. Just play a hard 90. Make your challenges, your 1v1s, your 50-50 balls, aerial duels, whatever the case may be. Just play hard. Play hard. Yeah. And leave it all out there. And if I would be fine if we lost 2-1, but we played hard, I'm perfectly okay with that. But if you show up,
we said that against Liverpool, didn't we?
Yeah. If they show up the way they did against Wolves or Nottingham Forest or Liverpool, I'm going to be so very put out with that. Yeah, I'm going to be so put out.
I want to ask Adrian one quick question. Adrian, I've said this to Steve on more than one occasion. I have the same feeling I did in 1984. I was 7 in 84, and I have the same gut feeling now as I did then. Do you have the same feeling as you did in 84 when we went to play? I think it was Hijack Split. We played in that semi-final.
He does.
Do you have that same feeling? We're going to win the cup, because I think we are. Steve, you're on in an hour.
Yep.
Please tell people about it and who's playing and what game is it today from the MLS?
Yeah, absolutely. MLS watch along goes out in less than an hour now, and it features Lionel Messi and his rugged Inter Miami squad. Of course, it has Luis Suarez, Sergio Busquets, Jordi Alba. It's the premier team in the MLS, and they're taking on the New York Red Bulls and live from Miami. So it's going to be stateside footy's first look at Inter Miami this year. For those that had been tuning, yes, it is more of a Seattle Sounders Western Conference type of channel. But that being said, you got to show love to the Eastern Conference. And so tonight we're going to show a lot of love to Leo Messi and Inter Miami. It's going to be an absolutely fantastic game. I highly hope you guys tune in and actually give Major League Soccer a chance, because it's not the David Beckham MLS from the late 2000s. It is an absolutely exciting, fast-paced, goal-scoring league. So if you like absolute bangers, that's the league you should want to watch. And it's also just an entertaining 90 minutes of football. So we're going to be going at 7:30 tonight. And are you going to pop in for that one for a little bit tonight?
No, I've got put streams up for tomorrow, and then I'm going to have my dinner. I am absolutely starving, and spend some time with Mrs. Tron. He went, Adrian, big up to John. He says, I want to see us try score first and then defend for our lives. I agree with that, John. Absolutely big up my Irish brother. Yeah. And he says, Dermot, mate, we're winning in bed. But I know we are. How many times have I said this to you, Steve? We're doing it. I have Sun lifting the Europa League trophy with help after a 2-1 win. I'm going for a 2-0 win. Tomorrow, score prediction, Steve?
That's a good question. I know facetiously I said 3-1 West Ham this morning, but here's where I'm thinking about this, and this is just my early prediction, and a lot can change in 24 hours when we officially do it tomorrow morning. But I think right now I'm kind of leaning in that. I'm going to say a 2-2 draw.
2-2 draw. Oh yeah, that's what I wonder. I am going for a
7-0 Spurs.
No,
7-0 Spurs.
3-0.
3-0.
Going for 3-0.
Who scores it for you? Who scores for you?
I'm going for Richarlison, Taylor, and Odegaard. And I was right about Brendan Johnson on Thursday. Coming around the corner, scored the first goal, so I'm sticking by that. Please look at that.
My goals are going to be Dejan Kulusevski. Kulu will score, and Timo Werner will get a goal.
Do you know what? Next season, we're going to keep a league table on this.
Yeah,
we will. And what we will do, what we are going to bring into these shows, we are going to go through the whole Premier League, and we're going to predict each Premier League game, and we're going to keep a league table. The loser at the end of that season has to do a forfeit. So that's for next season.
Can I also add to this? We would also like fan submissions. Submissions from the chat of your predictions as well too. We'll have like 5 or 6 regulars who will predict games as well too. We'll keep a chat table as well too. But also, you know what I want? I want your picks for next year's relegation teams. Our top 4, all of that's going to come into it as well too. So it's going to be absolutely fun. So here's the thing, Dermot. If I win it, you, sir, I don't need a shirt. I don't need a Tottenham shirt. But here's the thing: if I win it next year, for one show, I'm going to need you to see you in Arsenal red. I'm going to see you needing. I got to see you wearing an Arsenal shirt. And if you win, you can get me into my most hated Premier League team shirt, and that would be Manchester United.
There you go. No problem. I'm up for that. Now that's going to be clipped. I know if Bobby's watching, that will be clipped. But look, it is for next. We've got lots of exciting stuff coming up in the summer for next season as well. Steve, thank you again for watching me. But always remember, guys, we are your channel for breaking news, for correct, proper breaking news. We were the first ones to break about Paradici yesterday, and we're going to continue to do that during the summer. If you want breaking news, THFC Till We Die is the place. Thank you all for watching. Please go over and join Steve for the MLS watch along. We're back tomorrow at 1 o'clock for the before the whistle watch along final score. So guys, enjoy your night. Come on, you Spurs. In the big cockle we trust. We never stop. We will rise. We will win. We are Tottenham Hotspur. Good night.
I believe we'll win.
Yeah. 3-0. Woohoo.